Hi, it's George Nordhaus, and welcome to Monday morning. You know, we haven't done much on prospecting. And obviously, prospecting is the most important step, or one of the most important steps in running insurance agencies, for very sure. And there's sales call reluctance, and I want to tell you, I have sales call reluctance, and I know a lot of other people do. You know, you get turned down so many times for whatever it is, and you get so frustrated. Well, when I heard about Connie Kadansky, she's out in Phoenix, but she speaks all over the country, and she was sent to me by Mike Manus, who's done a number of Monday mornings for us. My friend, the Cajun philosopher, and he met her, and the two of them agreed that they liked each other, and I'm so glad he sent Connie to me. And so I love that, helping salespeople get their ass kicked here. Oh, that's okay. That's great, Connie. Tell us about yourself, because you're not really well known in our property casualty industry, but we're going to work on that. Okay.
Well, thank you, George, for inviting me. And yes, I do help salespeople get their ask in gear, because prospecting is a core competency for salespeople. And the reason that I got into this is because I was a call reluctant salesperson. Something happened, and then all of a sudden I was taking a nap at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I couldn't figure out what's going on here. And this was back in 1997, and I got on the internet and I did a search, and I found the term sales call reluctance. And I bought the book. I went to Dallas, went through a program, and I coached with one of the behavioral scientists. And at the end of that 10 weeks, she says, Connie, you get this. And I became a licensee of theirs. So the teacher teaches what the teacher needs to learn, and that's why I'm so passionate about helping people get comfortable with the prospecting.
Oh, well, I mean, what a great background. And somebody had the guts to change careers is really, really amazing. Wait, before you move that, I think I want to, Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg. I take Bloomberg Business. That's fabulous. And Inc., I take Inc. too. I don't take Investors Business Daily, but Wall Street Journal, that's pretty impressive, kiddo. How'd you do that? Huh?
Well, I am a believer. Like I say, I practice what I preach, and the Wall Street Journal writer called the president of National Association of Salespeople, and he said, I want to interview a salesperson that wines and dines clients and doesn't gain weight. And Mike Regan, the president, he said, call Connie Kadansky. And so that's how all that happened.
Oh, my God. That's great. Great publicity. I've never been there. I'd love to be interviewed. I don't know what I'd say, but that's terrific. All right. Well, let's talk about prospecting.
Well, before we talk about prospecting and in the insurance industry, so many people have a stereotypical negative impression of a salesperson, and this book, I highly recommend that people read this book. It's a 2014 bestseller, and it really talks about and convinces people that as long as they're out persuading, influencing, or moving anyone, that they're a salesperson. And my goal is to help salespeople identify with the professional, the true professional like you, George, identify with that kind of salesperson and not with the salesperson that has the stereotypical negative identification. So this book is very, very good about that.
Amazon, here I come. I'll get that at Amazon this afternoon.
Okay. And then here's my definition for selling, is finding and solving people's problems for a profit. And it's okay. So as salespeople, that's what we're hired for. That's what we're paid for, to go out and find and solve people's problems for a profit, and it's okay to do that. In this marketplace, and I know that that's what you're talking about, the Vision 2020, and the different components of how somebody can be successful in 2020, and I truly believe that first and foremost is going to be mindset, is what is going to set the top sellers apart. mindset, their set of beliefs around themselves, their prospects, their industry, just you name it, but what is their set of beliefs? And I promote a attitude of having a really sunny outlook and a gritty spirit, and that's what it's going to take with the new changes and the consistent changes. And then also, and this is where you really come in too, George, is process. You know, you've spoken all over the world and sold that the salespeople that have a process and follow their process are far more successful than the people that just wing it. And the sales that go south oftentimes because somebody deviated from their process. And then the skillful execution is to really recognize we're all works in progress, and that on a daily basis it is our goal to become more excellent than we were the day before. And those are the three components that I really advocate in taking a look at.
Okay.
In this wacky, wonderful world of business anymore, it's not your product, it's not your service, it is truly you as the differentiator. And as salespeople, we are selling our self-image all day, every day. And what makes us different as a salesperson? And then also, what is it that makes our product and service different? And I know that what you're having a lot of conversation about, that it's just becoming a commodity, the property and casualty insurance. However, when you really look at it, that may be the pricing issue for some people, but for many people, I don't believe that it is, because I'm one of those that will pay because I know that what it's like when you have somebody that stands up for you. Now, here's something that I believe that really makes a major difference in the prospecting and selling, is that the difference between the beginner and the master. That a beginner salesperson gets just a few little superficial details and facts, and then they jump in to be the hero, and they don't get to the core meaning of what is the desired situation for that prospect. And when you interviewed Mike, you were talking about that, and I know you really work with people on developing those relationships. And so I use this slide and teach in this regard, that this is where we really be good listeners, ask people what their desired situation is, and go and keep asking and asking and asking about what is it that they want from their insurance agent. And don't just allow them to say, I just want insurance. Well, what is it that you really want? So talk to me about that, George. You tell me, what are you seeing here, and what can you add to this?
Well, you know, I think that I totally agree with you. We're even advocating now that when you go in the first time around, we even give them a questionnaire. This is for a new business called INA, Insurance Needs Analysis, is coming out, and we asked them when we go into them, how do you really feel about it? We have a questionnaire that they actually have to, well, they don't have to fill it out, but say 8 questions or something like that. But it goes right to the thing. How do you feel about, do you really want to have your deductibles, or do you feel comfortable? You know, but the point of it is that they get that information, and it goes in that customers' or clients' files, because we're really asking those things. We never have done that before, I don't think.
Well, I believe that 70% of the sale is one in needs analysis. And when we do that. Now, let's talk about prospecting.
All right.
So I'm a believer in marketing. I believe in everything that you're doing with the social media, the website, the interactivity, the email, etc. And market, yes. And if all that marketing gets people a consistent inflow of new prospects, go for it. You're doing good. However, what I find is that it's not quite enough. It's not quite there. It's doing well, but they're just not quite getting enough of the incoming. And so that's where prospecting comes in. And that prospecting is really a mindset around prospecting, and there's so much out there. It doesn't work anymore. Well, it does work to the people who believe it works. I mean, there are salespeople that are having profound success by their proactive steps that they're taking to identify, qualify, and get in front of prospective buyers. And I really talk and believe in highly targeted prospecting calls. So people that are just calling from a phone book or something like that, they don't get as much traction, but really to do that proactive prospecting. So the mindset is to recognize that new business is the lifeblood of business, and it's proactivity. And what I find, the more proactive people get, the more incoming from all their other marketing comes in, because we're consistently focused on new business development. And it is just fascinating that the more that we focus on new business development, the more business comes in the door. Now, this is where I really can challenge people, and I know that I'm not here to tell people what they want to hear, so I had my illustrator do this about, you know.
Not sure what it is, but it's good. It's got to be bees.
It is, and I'm going to talk about just, you know, I'm going to step into the hornet's nest, and people might get a little bit agitated by what I'm going to suggest.
Good.
But I have found that, going back to mindset, that the salespeople that have a mindset that they're a professional lead generator who happens to sell insurance, that and it doesn't diminish the fact that they're insurance people, they're licensed, they have a lot of credibility. But when people take on that, I'm a professional lead generator who happens to sell insurance, their prospecting becomes an adventure. And where I came by this is I was working with a company that was selling to cosmetic and plastic surgeons. The plastic and cosmetic surgeons that embraced this new reality, that they are marketers first and surgeons second, have a waiting list of clients. The surgeons that are, no, I am board certified, I am president of my association, I'm a surgeon first, many of them have closed their second offices and are working 3 days a week. So the reality is the marketers will always win. So with that marketing and embracing that, and so even with salespeople, and I know your members are good about and investing in their own marketing, and so to recognize, to add that prospecting component, wow, how much fun can that be? So it's really about visibility management and noticing, are you staying visible in your marketplace? So yes, through your marketing, but are you staying visible with your prospects? And they may not be willing to buy today, but the more visible you stay, there's going to come a time that there's a great probability that they are going to come your way, as long as you stay visible and stay ethical and professional. So how do you know if you're call reluctant? So call reluctance is that emotional hesitation to initiate contact or prospect, right? Well, here's how you know. You look in your wallet and you go, how much money's in there today? Because call reluctance shows up first in the pocketbook, in the bank account. And then it also shows up in the appointment calendar. So if anybody has any doubts, how proud of you are you with your bank account and your appointment calendar? And if you're not too happy, you may be suffering and experiencing from call reluctance. Now, here's the best thing that I can say to people. Call reluctance is nothing to be embarrassed about, but living with it needlessly is. For 15 years now, I've worked with salespeople, and believe me, you can overcome that call reluctance. Were you going to say something, George?
I was just going to say, explain the colors, will you, on that?
Well, it's just that people have different codes on their appointments. Sometimes if it's a yellow, it's just a regular client or upsell. So
I got it. Yeah, okay. Good.
Okay, thank you. So in reality, it is totally possible. I can tell you the top producers are having 12 to 15 appointments a week. And I was a speaker at National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors, and a PNC sales agent came up to me, and he told me, he said, I have 5 appointments a day,
oh my gosh,
6 days a week.
How could he do that? That's
5 appointments a day, 6 days a week. And I asked him, how do you do it? And he says, my daughter keeps my calendar full. And so that's the goal. And a lot of salespeople just like 12 to 15 a week. It is so, when you get internally organized and get comfortable, that is entirely possible. And thinking about the new business that can come from there. So let's look at a basic sales model.
okay.
Is where salespeople identify their prospects so that they can initiate contact, so they can introduce themselves, their product and service, so they can have that all coveted sales presentation, and so that you influence them to buy from you. Mm-hmm. And I'm a believer that those number 2 and 3 are 80% emotional in origin. I have many of my clients that want to have technical, and they want to work with their scripting, etc., but they're emotional in origin.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, the phone rang, but that happens. That's no problem. Keep going. Yeah.
So our prospects, they are busy. They're busy in their businesses. They're busy with their children. They have elderly parents. And as salespeople, it is our responsibility to tap into their world and add value, the value add. And I know that's, George, you beat the drum of, are you adding value? And it's where our creativity comes in. We tap into their world. We add value in order for them to talk to us. And that's how we stay visible and get their business. So here again is the official definition, the emotional hesitation to initiate contact with prospects. So how does that show up? Where somebody's in their office and they have their list in front of them and they are ready to pick up that phone, and they swing around, check email one more time. So they reach for the phone and they stop. That's what call reluctance is. Now, there are only 2 ways to view prospecting. So going back to the mindset, as an opportunity, that's one way to view it, and the opportunity can go in so many different directions, yes, or as an emotional threat, where we just get all boxed up and feel emotionally threatened by initiating contact with potential buyers. So the opportunities are out there. So what do we do about it if somebody's suffering from call reluctance? Number 1, be aware of it. How are you aware of it? Look in your wallet, look at your calendar. There's an assessment. Now, I do have a free assessment. If somebody, I'm going to give my email at the end. You want that assessment, I'll be happy to send that to you.
Oh, that's great. That'd be helpful.
Yes, and then also there's an assessment that you can invest in that's a little bit more in-depth and objective. And number 3, George, that oftentimes is the hardest one for people, is to just admit to themselves that they are experiencing call reluctance. And I always say it's better to be humble now and admit your call reluctance than experience real humility when you don't succeed or you're not able to do something for your family that you wanted to do, or those of you that work for a company, they scoot you out the door. Wow, that's going to take some humility. And then number 4, to apply proven techniques to overcome the call reluctance. So fear, call reluctance is a fear, and I'm going to share about the what actually blocks people's success. We're going to break it down into 4 different things. So think about reaching for the phone and they stop, a limited belief or an assumption, a perspective or an interpretation, or the inner critic. And that inner critic is usually pretty ornery and destructive, but those are the 4 things that keep people from consistently prospecting. And when they can really admit a limited belief or an assumption. I hear people say it doesn't work to call people on the phone anymore. Well, it doesn't work for them. It doesn't work all the time. There's a way to leave a good voicemail, and texting actually can be very effective. I have clients that are texting, and they're and getting responses. So, and then perspectives and the inner critic. So, George, do you relate to any of those?
I think so. I think the assumptions. You know, like I'm calling for Agencies Online to talk to prospective, and I look at their website and I assume, oh well, they think they're pretty good, and I don't know if we can overcome that. And I look at their sale, and I think I assume too much a lot. I like that because that's kind of scary. And my inner critic, I beat myself up. Sure, don't we all? I think it's mean and destructive. I never thought of myself that way, but I guess I am. Holy mackerel! Yeah, it blocks my success a lot. I know it does. Frustrate me. I'm not the world's greatest salesman. I have to tell you, Connie. I just am not, because I think a lot of these things really apply to me. I get so frustrated with this thing. Anyway, with anything. I mean, anything I'm trying to sell. I know it's good, and I can't tell them that it's good because never mind. You take it from there. Go ahead.
Well, you've been profoundly successful, so you have something that really had you hang in there. So now I'm going to share some of the things that my clients have told me over the years. So now you get to decide: is it a limited belief, an inner critic, an assumption, or a perception? So we all have these clouds around our head that are actually creating a lot of our self-doubt. So
they think I'm trying to sell them something, which is true, of course. But
I know. So that's role rejection, call reluctance, ashamed that they're in sales. And then we hear this one a lot. Oh, they've already been called by 11 other insurance salespeople today. It's like we have a crystal ball. And then some people really do believe that they have a finite number of prospects, and they're afraid that they're going to blow it. So I'll blow the contact. I feel inadequate. So that's the inner critic, right?
Absolutely.
This is also the inner critic. Oh, they're going to be upset that I interrupted them. Well, guess what? You are interrupting them, but when you have value and a good value proposition and you're going to add value to them, it's okay to interrupt them. And I hate this. So it's not prospecting that causes people's anxiety. It's their thought about it. And when people can really get that, like, oh, okay, it's my thought about it, then they feel like, oh, okay, so I can do something about it. Now, unresolved issues of call reluctance usually don't get better. And I've worked with successful insurance agents that have been successful over the years, and then they got a little bit complacent, and then they may had somebody in the family gets sick and they just got away from it, and it's a little bit tough to get back in there. That's where a few little coaching sessions.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the question, that if people will ask themselves this question for 60 seconds a day, can be very, very profoundly effective, to be able to just contemplate, what would it be like to be at ease with prospecting?
Mm-hmm.
And when people are thinking that, they are literally changing the chemical factory in their body, because every thought we think, our hypothalamus secretes a chemical that matches that thought. So if we're in fear and anxiety, that's what's happening in our body. And to be able to say, what would it be like to be at ease with prospecting, and just start contemplating that, having that be the internal dialogue versus, oh my goodness, I think that they're not going to need me, etc. And sometimes the simplest things get diminished because it just seems too simple, and this is one of those techniques that that is just a little bit too simple. So here's the definition. We all want more confidence. What is confidence? Is that ability, that emotional capacity to transform fear, the fear which is the call reluctance, into focus-related thinking, communication, and action. It's that inner dialogue. That inner dialogue is where we're really working with people. So I mentioned that there's a call reluctance assessment, so there's a financial responsibility with this one. It's used for coaching and development, and it's also used for pre-hire. And oftentimes I encourage the head agent to take this assessment, because sometimes they're actually contaminating the very folks they want to inspire in their agency with their call reluctance. That's a big deal.
I'd be afraid to take this myself, I think. Don't give it to me, will you?
No.
Well, listen, I mean, I like what you covered here, and you covered it very quickly, and it's nice, and you've made me think, and I think a lot of other people. You speaking, you training, you coach individuals, you coach groups.
Yes. Yes,
tell me what you do.
Well, just recently I was with 16 salespeople that sell med-malpractice insurance, and I facilitated a one-day workshop, and now each one of them individually I'm going to be coaching for 4 weeks, where we really look at where they get to pick the agenda, and they start looking at their limited beliefs, their assumptions, their perceptions, their inner critic, and I start working with them on transforming that so that they can believe in their value. Because you know what, George, when a salesperson truly believes in their value, I mean, they just get it. They're emotionally resilient and unstoppable. And so that's what I do. And I speak at a lot of associations and et cetera on this particular topic.
Well, you'd be an ideal speaker for, I ran a couple of associations. I ran the Indiana and the Tennessee Independent Insurance Agents Associations, and I was always looking for somebody like it. We never had anybody on prospecting all those years. That's great. Well, they can contact you right there. There's your links.
Yes.
I've enjoyed this. This is a lot. I think what we're doing, Connie, is opening a door here. I think we're going to have to come back with this now in a few weeks or something. Is that all right with you? Another few months or something? We could just keep going at it.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
What were you going to say?
I have another one. Are you too nice to close the deal?
Oh, let's use that one a few weeks from now.
We will.
All right.
Okay.
All right. We might even use that next week. Who knows? But I like this kind of stuff. Well, look, thank you very much for agreeing to do this. I mean, it's just kind of out of your. I mean, you're not an insurance agent, but it's nice that we have people looking in and giving an objective viewpoint, people who are educated and understand it, people who've been there, done that. And I think that. I think you scared me now. I'm going to get that assessment from you somehow, some way. Okay. And the rest of the guys, you could go back to the the email, and you can get you can go on into the archives there. The rough notes are Agencies Online, and do that. And next week, who knows? I may be able to talk to you in there. We'll see. Okay, Connie, thank you, my dear. You were good.
Thank you so much.
Well, my pleasure to have you.